out of the Quirkies ecosystem, but also from a food perspective, pretty awesome to watch her journey. So we start our space off with about 15 minutes every week with our brothers from Bridge 3 Labs, Board Chilla, Fernando Danksy, who's on the B3L account, and of course, Mr. Rotes, uh, DB, who is the NFT guy. So we're gonna throw it over to Chilla. Chilla is the king of the macro. He's every week giving us updates on the what's going on in equities and all that good stuff. So Chilla, reporting live. It sounds like you're out in the trenches, brother. How are you?
I am. Thank you, sir. And Pappy, I got to admit that hoodie and the OB look there is suiting you well. And congrats again to that. So first shout out there. Number two, a very happy birthday to Ash. Great to hear it. Hopefully you're 21 all over again because you look it. So congrats there again. Look, guys, we'll just kind of jump right into it. Look, it's been an exciting 7 days since the last week we did the updates, and I think the macro, kind of equity, U.S. equity tech risk on exposure continues to, confound most and continues to stay, virtually vertical in terms of the bullish sentiment. And obviously, I think that coupled with all the other, narrative always follows price, and our industry in the NFT crypto space is no different. And I think what you found over the last, call it, 2.5, 3 weeks since Jay Powell kind of ignited this most recent kind of reflation, if you will, bubble. Um, we're seeing crypto and BTC in particular, and I should say not in particular. Actually, the alts are showing life like crazy. Whether it's previous generation alts that are seeing a bid, whether it's Solana, AVAX, those, or it's kind of Thorchain and things that are kind of really reemerging with the new thesis. I'm as I look to the alt universe, and I look to the volatility. Look, I mean, anyone who's trying to day trade, BTC or anything like that, the volatility is going to whip you around. That's how these things work. They shake people out, longs and shorts alike. And so that's particularly why the exposure we tend to do is more on the BTO futures and get leverage through options, and it kind of keeps you out of the chop and the noise. But again, that's just kind of what we do. But I think our positioning, look, we're going into Thanksgiving. Um, I will say most people forget, but last year in December was a horrible December. I think it was one of the worst Decembers on record, like top five in the equity market. So it's easy to get lulled into this sense of complacency given exactly how bullish things are. But you got to take notice when NVIDIA and Microsoft are hitting 52-week highs, and like virtually Apple and Amazon, Google. I mean, your Magnificent Seven is basically providing uh, a leadership framework that it's really hard to bet against. Now, there could be a catalyst, there could be something that jars the momentum here, but we don't try to call the turn in the market. We just like to try to trade the market you're given, basically, right? And right now, you may get a 1 or 2% pullback just from profit taking or some headline, but obviously we've neutralized a lot of the war premium potential risk. If you look at WTI, it was down 3 or 4. I think it's down 16% or something this month alone, which is a pretty significant drop for any commodity, in particular oil. So there was no bid war premium assigned to crude, and I think crude is now starting to reflect softening economic fundamentals, and futures producers and consumers are hedging out across the curve all the way down. The futures curve through next year is fully is fully contango mode right now. So look, I think what I would suggest is there's tomorrow's a very important OPEX for the futures and options market. And so I think you're going to see, whatever positioning, whoever was short basically got carried out on a stretcher because you couldn't have, you didn't have enough money to be able to fight the bullish flow. But after tomorrow, and depending on how tomorrow settles, I think back half of November, um, obviously you're not going to continue to the same level of appreciation. I think the S&P is up 7%, Nasdaq's up 10% in the first 11 trading sessions. So you're not going to repeat that. What you're probably going to get is some congestion, some digestion, and so we'll be looking to that. We'll be looking to see if leadership falls apart anywhere, but again, it's we're all humbled by the market, and I have to admit, we're positioned with a lot of crypto and long bond exposure on the U.S. Treasury market. So, even though we do have been very cautious of getting long the equities, those equity losses that we incurred were more than offset by our crypto and long bond exposure. So you got to be vigilant. And look, I'm happy to take questions, but I think we're kind of in a wait and watch mode, and keep size minimum, manage risk, and live to fight another day if it's going against you. So hand it back over to you guys. Any questions or
Love it. Chilla, I love it. And I think you nailed it. I mean, you've been so on point. I just have to give you your flowers here. Over like every week you come in and you don't hype things up, and I think that's really important. So if somebody's coming to our show every Thursday, I think between you, Rotes, and the team, um, they're getting a good, consistent overview and something to follow. So I just want to give you some appreciation for being consistent. I know you're extremely busy and you got a lot of stuff going on, but you always find time to pop in for this space, which is definitely something I know I'm personally grateful for. Um, Before we throw it to Fur, real quick, guys, um, if if anybody has any questions, you can pop it in the chat. But I noticed we only have 25 reposts. Obviously, you guys don't have to repost this if you don't want to. We are very grateful if you will, because it helps with the Twitter algorithm greatly. We have 77 people on the space and like 25 reposts. And a little hack, if you've already reposted it, you could unrepost and re-repost it, and it seems to work. It seems to refresh it. So anyway, we just want to get more exposure here, especially um, when we talk about building with IP. So I think it's really important to educate and then elevate the space. And today we've got some people here that are really actually already doing it. And so who better to learn from than execution versus conception type people. All right, Fur, over to you, brother.
Thanks, Papi. Yeah, no, I had a question for Chilla, and part of this is something that he posted on our Discord previously this week. But at the end of last week, you kind of like saw the trend for, at least for the equity markets, the QQQ and tech stocks going up, and kind of like at the beginning of the week, you were still a little bit bullish. You kind of like played out a couple of calls, and they turned out to be very successful. But then, as we kind of like reach certain levels within those Magnificent Seven, you kind of like are turning wary on the stock markets. I guess my first question is, QQQ is still doing fairly well today. I think it's up about 1% or something like that. No, in 5 days it's up 3%. So I wonder, where do you see it coming here for the, as the holidays come in?
Yeah, look, I mean, I try not to get too cute on like specific technicals, like like to the third decimal point and all that shit. There's too many forces and factors in the world that make every technical adhere to a moving average or a Bollinger Band or whatever technical tool is your flavor of choice. Philosophically, if you think about it, we've had a massive impulse move off of 14,100 on the NDX, and 4,100 on the S&P. The S&P is not quite at its all-time high, but the Nasdaq actually is. And if you take reinvested dividends, because the Nasdaq really doesn't pay dividends, you'd probably be a whole lot closer. Um, because the S&P does, and so it kind of makes sense on a total return. You're probably there, but on an index level, you're not. So look, I think whenever you come up and challenge new highs, you're going to get congestion. You're going to get a lot of institutions that are going to kind of get flat, or maybe if they had too much exposure or too much levered exposure in a subsector, they'll get flat. So I would expect as we're here, um, at least on the triple Qs, I mean, the high 387, 388 ish. Look, tomorrow's OPEX. I wouldn't be surprised if we add three quarters or one full percentage point and kind of close the wick, close the candle out, kind of three bullish soldiers here. I wouldn't be surprised if we do that. And then like I said, the back half of the month, be wary of false breakouts. Be wary of wicks that don't get confirmed, and you get kind of people that are chasing. I like to play the power band, right? And I think we're approaching the seventh or eighth inning as it relates to this particular leg move up. Doesn't mean that the can't reward starts to get less favorable at the index level for individual securities, whether it's Nvidia, which reports earnings on the 21st, I believe, or Microsoft, which hit an all-time high today. Microsoft, the headline here, is it's going to take over Apple as the world's largest company by market capitalization. It's less than $100 billion away. So I think you're going to see a bid into Microsoft. I think Nvidia is going to see a bid into earnings. It's the most hated rally. People can't understand it, but that's precisely when markets confound. So look, I think individual names you could still lean bullish and kind of be risk seeking. Indexes may chop a little bit, but with the positive tilt until there's a catalyst to shake the confidence. Right now, I don't see it on the horizon. The volatility index is basically saying that there's no one's bidding fear. So go with the trend. It's your friend.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's no, thanks for the views there. And I have a question around Bitcoin. Obviously, the ETF news were delayed, and part of it, I guess, it reflects on the price action today. But I know you don't look at short term Bitcoin. You like to, kind of like buy and kind of like look at more of the long term. But what do you think of of Bitcoin, like in terms of like if you think about before the holidays, what is the price action? A lot of people ask about it, and how it's doing. Today and in a couple of days, I think is 3% down, something like that.
Yeah, look, it had a massive wall at 32,000. When we broke through that, I think what you saw is you saw the market validate, and it's all bullshit. Whether it's ETF news, this, that, or the other, it's all garbage. I mean, yes, it's all long-term fundamental. The problem is people confuse being a long-term fundamental investor with being a short-term trader. People enter trades on a short-term basis, and then it goes against them. And they're like, yeah, well, now I'm just a long-term investor. Well, that's not how you look at it. Look, fundamentals for Bitcoin, institutional adoption, happening. All of these things point to a 4 to 6, 8 quarter, like up to the right. And we're not even. I don't even think we've started the up only moves here. This is chopping people out. This is with the bullish, kind of, you're seeing volatility. But look, here's the thing on Bitcoin futures. If you look at BITO, which is the ETF that indexes the BTC futures on the CME, if you look at that contract, what you'll find is historical volatility is still in the relatively low range, right? It's still at the 10, 20, 30% range. Um, when that number gets to 70, 80% of historical volatility is when you know that you've got, the move and the volatility is very present. Right now, the last few days of a couple thousand point moves on the futures on BTC looks wild, but I can tell you that we haven't even started to scratch the surface of wild. You'll know it when we're up, 9,000 or 14,000 in a day. And you'll be like, holy shit. And I'll be like, yeah, well, that's the type of volatility you expect when we're in midstream. So we're not there, and get your size, get your exposure, stick around. Don't get stopped out and run out of all your capital, because when the party's on, you're going to want to be there. So,
Thanks, Chilla. Appreciate it.
all right, fellas, I'm going to hop in an elevator, so I'll probably.
Yeah, I think we lost him. Rhodes, take it over, man.
That was very awesome timing there. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Poppy was saying earlier, that when we look at it, or at least when I look at the NFT market, it's always to try take it at a look of kind of a balanced approach, and making sure that we're not getting too ahead with emotion or anything like that. And that's kind of the way I take it. So if I seem like I may be a little bit more calm or level headed than some of the hype that goes around, that's just my nature and my approach. Let's dive in and let's take a look. I mean, this week has been overall, I think, pretty interesting, and still seeing some really good positives, along with some retraction to the excitement that we had last week at this time. So volumes have dipped down, but they are still positive and above where we were in early October, and that's good. We're in a really interesting point here as we near the end of Blur season two. I think it's two, three. Season one, who knows? But yeah, Blur season two. So that comes up, I think, on the 20th here. And so when that closes, that'll be a really interesting inflection point. So be aware that we could get some volatility in terms of sell-offs or some kind of liquidity and volume, etc. So just be cautious around that, and look for your spots. NFT buyers and sellers has gone back down to levels pre last week, but still holding steady and strong. That's good to see. We have had a bit of an increase in gas, and that increase in gas, which is really at about 5.5 month highs, does tend to tamper some of the activity as well. With the strength in ETH and crypto across the board, that also plays into it, and that's where we've seen some sell off in terms of overall floor prices, all looking very strong and up compared to where they were. Really almost back to the 6 month levels. So all very good. And with this recent surge in ETH, it's very reasonable to see some sell-offs to capture some of the profits, or at least lower flow prices into increased US dollar value. So that has occurred a little bit. Daily new buyers is in the 500 to 750 range. I'd like to see that increase. I think this is one of the metrics that has put a little bit of pause to, are we in a bull market, et cetera. As I said last week, we want to see new entrants in the space for it really to move. But with that long period of consolidation and this kind of increased optimism, that really was people that were existing in the market that had conviction, jumping in and taking action. So I think that's really the precursor to things to come. Blue chip index has been on a nice steady incline. Like I said, it's actually exceeding where we were 6 months earlier, or 150 days earlier, in USD volume, and only down about 10% after having some really good gains. A lot of that's driven in the CryptoPunk range, and CryptoPunks are, I think, the stable coin and the true barometer of the health of the NFT market. So them performing well, I think, just shows the strength across NFTs in general. And over the last week, the two collections that really lead the way are CryptoPunks and Captains. Captains really fueled by success in meme coin and everything around there. Probably more successful than I think many anticipated, but really strong use case and providing some increased optimism there. Mid cap index has been on a really nice incline as well, really back to the beginning of October, giving back a little bit of those profits. It's giving back more profits than what we've seen on the blue chip side of things. Again, that's really just due to the surge in USD values. And Art Blocks has also had probably the biggest spike, but the Art Block spike is really related to the decreased liquidity and how easy it is to make a move on floor prices with just a few sales. And so I think this is on Fidenzas, really kind of drove the majority of the increase on my index. and that's just due to a few sales moving that up higher in the range of 20 ETH sort of thing. So, but it is up nonetheless, which is really good to see. And then some news items that have happened over the last week and recent days. We have one of the, these kind of stories pop up all the time, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. And I think, we're all aware that, large Web2 businesses are always active within the space and testing and building and doing things, coming and going. And none a better example than Disney, who was here in the space, kind of shut things down, and now they've partnered up with Dapper Labs. Any entrant by Disney will definitely push mainstream. Starbucks has done it so well, so if Disney can find a way to do something in a similar vein, that'll definitely work well. Super Rare, Pindervar and Armin, they had their drop here today. It's a really interesting drop. It did make a 50% run, but it was incentivized for some mint and sell activity through Super Rare to get a print. But the project itself is really cool, kind of a collaboration between Phygital and mechanical painting and AI. So it has performed well. As well, Proof has had some successful art drops of recent, or a successful art drop of recent, and another one coming, and they continue to churn out. So that's great to see for the Proof ecosystem, and what they are finally delivering on. Rafik Anadol has seen some criticism. This one is interesting. It's really more of an attention thing, where a art critic just kind of frowned upon the collection, but the fact that an art critic is taking note, and Rafik has got such kind of mainstream buzz, I still think is the largest positive in the space, and maybe he was just attention seeking. So interesting nonetheless. Taproot Wizards had a $7.5 million raise here. Taproot Wizards is a project, one of the more anticipated projects on the Bitcoin Ordinal platform there. So they're progressing, and some Solana projects have recently had some big runs over the last week. Maybe a bit due to gas, maybe a bit of chasing other opportunities, that sort of thing. But again, really good to see. That's kind of my bit here today. I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter. I see some hands up for questions, so we'll pause there.
Rhodes, I was just going to say Jerry's a really big deal. Jerry Saltz. So it's just that's why that's such a big deal. That's why people made the piece about that. But to your point, yeah, I mean, at least he's paying attention. But it was pretty big shade for him to throw, and I think it's starting this whole conversation around the legitimacy of digital art and all sorts of fun stuff, which I think is great because at least people are talking about it. Yeah, but I'm just flagging that Jerry's is actually a really big deal. So the fact he's interacting is not just a normal art critic.
You know what? I took him as less of a big deal when he had a non-capitalized name on X, but obviously the attention and the note that occurred through that interaction is meaning that he's definitely well informed in the space. Ash?
Yeah, I just no questions. I just wanted to own in on the importance of how Disney is coming back into the space. We've been talking about this for the past couple of days since we've heard the announcement that Disney is launching this digital collectible thing, right? The last time they did that, they failed. But this time coming back, I think it's notable to say that they're pinpointing their pin collectors. And as someone who has seen on the inside how kind of crazy the pin collectors really, really get, I think that this is a really good push from the Disney side, bringing their pin collectors into the digital collectible environment, because this could really, really set the pace for now these major companies coming into Web3. I'm sorry. I mean, Disney pin collectors all around the world. If you've ever gone to Disney World, Disneyland, and you've ever seen the people that walk around with the pin lanyards around their neck, they're serious about their pins. So I'm really, really kind of excited to see how this plays out for Disney and how it plays out for Web3, because now you're taking it to a completely different level just for Web2 people kind of understanding exactly what a digital collectible is.
Yeah, the interesting thing, we were talking about this on Coffee with Captain yesterday, I believe it was. I think the interesting thing is understanding that Disney can try Web3, fail miserably 8, 9, 10 times, and on the 11th time, they'll nail it and send us like full send. So I think that they, released 3 IPs for this particular activation. Um, Obviously, they're never going to go full all out if they're not building their own thing. That would be my thought process. I would expect that Disney would make their own ecosystem, their own chain, their own something. But this is probably a friend or a pitch that went to the right executive saying, "Hey, let us try 3 IPs. We've got a plan. We did NBA Top Shot. We did this. Look at all the credibility we have." Um, and Disney said, "Okay, let's do it." Personally, there was a lot of momentum in NBA Top Shot, and NBA Top Shot's a big reason why I even got into NFTs and why a lot of collectors came into the space. But I think it's safe to say between NBA Top Shot and Vivi, the ball was dropped significantly. I mean, Vivi NFTs were like basically illiquid, or they still might be. I don't know, but they were for a very long time, and I don't think people understood that they were buying collectibles that couldn't really be sold for monetary value, or cashed out. And so, probably potentially, I should say, a byproduct of just being early. Um, Top Shot and Vivi were probably ahead of their time, so I'm not going to beat them up for it. But interesting to see Disney partnering with Dapper. I think it could be like the pin thing is massive, but there's got to be more to it. I think for Disney to really go all in, number one. And I think that there needs to be a physical connection to the actual pins. So, we shall see what it does. If it does anything, I'm sure Disney could launch whatever they want and people will buy it because they're lunatics, um, including
Stop
me. I mean,
talking about me.
Listen, I'm a Disney season pass holder. So, like, it is what it is, right? Like, I love going to
But
Disney.
Jay,
If you were like, yo, let's do,
yep.
I'm down, like I'm down. So,
Like
all right, what's up?
what I think is
Jesse,
smart
what's up?
about this play though is they're getting very specific on who the atomic network is. Like I think that's what Ash is pointing back to is they were going really broad with an incomplete product. Now they're like, let's just go find the most fanatic of fanatic collectors. Let's try to do something that blows their mind that they love. And that's the perfect audience to test new tech on, right? And so for
Well, I'm
me, it
just
feels
saying,
like they're
Jesse.
learning.
I'm just saying. I become the Web3 Jedi. I buy the hoodie. I become Poppy One Satoshi, the Web3 Jedi, and the next day they launch Star Wars NFT. I don't know, man. I'm
That's
I'm
probably what
just
it was.
saying.
That's probably what it was,
Just
Sam.
saying.
You're in
Use
Florida.
the
They have
force,
a
buddy.
presence in Florida. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Or maybe Poppy has some inside information.
Well, Jesse does look like Yoda, and I don't know, man. There's something happening here. So
Let's go.
come on. Uh, all right. So, Danks, your hand went up.
Hey, Poppy. Just a quick reminder to retweet the spaces. Just a quick formal invite to everyone in the spaces today, 6 p.m. Eastern Time.